Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Driftin' and Driftin'. I'm Reverend Billy C. Wirtz, and I'm just drifting along, doing what I do and having a great time talking to all these cool and interesting artists that we do right here on the legendary Rhythm and Blues Cruise Zoom interview with the Blues program. Driftin' and Driftin' has been going on for a little while now, and one of the first people I wanted to talk to was this amazing artist. She sort of just came along in the past few years and has made a huge impact in our business already. And it's my pleasure and honor to be here today. Please, everybody, welcome my good friend, Miss Vanessa Collier. How you doing, Vanessa?
I'm doing well, Reverend Billy. How you doing?
I couldn't be much better. This is great. You know, I was talking with Roger and some other people, and we all laugh about the first day that I heard you. You were on the radio doing the live thing on the station that I work at. I hear you, and within 30 seconds, Linda is on the phone going, "You need her on the Blues Cruise now," you know, and it was just perfect, you know, what you do and the way it works with the cruise. And so a lot of folks are going to be really interested in how this all evolves. Why don't you start it out? When were you born? When and where?
I was born near, like in between Dallas and Fort Worth in Texas, 1990. So it was a big year for me. Turned 30 this year, which is awesome. It's a little town close to Grapevine, which I love that name.
Right.
And spent a couple years there, and then we moved to Hershey, Pennsylvania when I was like 8. And we moved to Clarksville, Maryland, which is where I went through grade school, through like third grade through freshman year of college. And then my family moved just south of Philadelphia, where we've been for 11 years. So
okay. Musical background in the family?
No, my parents are both accountants and finance people. They're both college professors. So I grew up with that side, the business side more so. But my mom is like, she loves every style of music. So I grew up listening to the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac and Aretha Franklin, Etta James, top 40 stuff. Of course, growing up in Texas, you hear a lot of the old school country stuff. So before it became, you know, pop country. And I love what I think that I love, like the first artist that I remember loving is actually LeAnn Rimes. And what I like about that music is just, I mean, it's just like the blues, it's storytelling, you know, and that's the stuff that I've been drawn to since day one, apparently. So it's been cool.
That's great. That stuck right off the bat with something I wanted to. Okay, so what was the first thing you wanted to be when you were a kid?
I wanted to be a veterinarian. I think that was the first thing.
Okay.
Because I always loved dogs. And actually, my vet at the time when we moved to Clarksville, he was like, "Oh, yeah, you can come watch a surgery, no problem." And at that point, I was like, wait, I have to do surgery. I don't think I can do that. So, you know, and then I was an avid basketball player from about the same time that I started saxophone. So for a while, I really wanted to be in the WNBA and be a restaurateur for all at the same time. I just totally thought that was going to happen. So
sure.
Big dreams, you know.
Have your parents always been supportive of the music?
Absolutely. Yeah. My mom is like, she gave me a second chance, I should say, even because I had wanted to play piano and I was drawn to the music, and we took lessons with this woman for like 6 months, and I hated it. Not because I hated the piano, but because she'd sit there and like hit my hands as I played. And I was just, I can't, why are you hitting me? You know?
Right.
And so it really turned me off. And I just like, I went screaming and crying into every lesson from that point forward. And my mom was like, finally, she was just like, okay, fine, we'll quit. And then it was a couple months later, and I saw somebody playing saxophone, and I was like, what is that? I need to play it. What is that sound, you know? And so like after begging her for a little bit, she caved and rented me one, and then, you know, bought me my first couple of horns there too. So I've always been constantly supported. She's really helped me with the merch stuff, and, you know, just like designing my career and allowing me, you know, finding a way to help me be me while also doing the business side really well. So I'm eternally grateful.
How old were you when you had that, I want to play that thing? How old were you then?
I was 8 going on 9 because I started when I was 9. Yeah.
All right. So you took lessons for a couple of years, and then you told me this once before, but I want to hear it again. Oh, all right. Well, first, who's the first artist, saxophonist that you heard that you went, now I have this and I want to play like that?
Yeah. Cannonball Adderley was my guy. Totally. I was really fortunate, and I don't think I even knew it at the time. I was taking lessons with Chris Fidala, and he was the saxophonist for Chuck Mangione for 20 plus years, and first call in the DC area, first call woodwind artist across the country.
Yikes.
When Stevie Wonder and Aretha Franklin and all those cats would roll into town, he's the first call. And so, I studied with him for 7 years and got this like crazy education. And just like being able to study everything, classically, jazz, funk, R&B, he really like took me through the gamut of finding everything. And then he was like, oh yeah, here's Cannonball Adderley, check him out. And so it was like between Chris and Cannonball, those are two of my favorite players of all time. Nobody's come close to beating them,
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you play, tell me what the difference between an alto and a tenor is?
So it's really just the range of the instrument, where, alto tends to be more like an alto voice. And then a tenor is slightly lower. What's nice about all the saxophones, and thank you Adolph Sax for this, is that you can pick up and play any of them with slight embouchure changes, but the fingering's the same across all the horns. So like on the latest record, I played soprano, alto, tenor, bari on the whole record, so I love them each for their own, like they have their own presence and their own voice. Alto is like, it can be really mean and throaty, or it can be really, really thin. And I like the dark, round, like warm sound. Tenor just has this kind of like thing to it. I can't really explain. It's just got its own like wonderful, rich tone. And you can actually, through altissimo, get up into the same range as the alto, which is really cool.
Right. Well, I was wondering because I noticed like all the real jazz, like Charlie Parker and those guys play altos. Yeah. And then all the guys I love, which are the honking R&B guys, all play those tenors.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think tenor gives you a little bit more like you can really go for it. You can dig into a tenor without it sounding like too overblown or like overdriven. But alto, you have to really watch the tone. It's harder to play an alto, honestly, and keep it in tune.
Okay.
Tenor's easier to keep in tune and just keep that nice round, warm sound. You don't have to do
right. And then, of course, a baritone, you can hang, like on Tell Mama, you hear that, boom, and the whole song is around that baritone lick that he does,
Yeah.
And the few guys that play it, the Jerry Mulligans and all that, or just, set your soul on fire.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So, we've talked about the fact that, and what I like is you span the gamut between jazz, rhythm and blues. Yeah. And unfortunately, we get these different camps that get very set in their ways, and they, I don't like jazz, and
Yeah.
What's and it goes back the other way too. If you are going to introduce your average blues fan to something that they could reach onto sax wise in the way of jazz, say Cannonball Adderley's an obvious choice. Who else would you say, go listen to this guy? This guy plays with blues and soul.
Yeah, so of the modern guys, I love Jeff Coffin. He's a UNT grad and played with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones for a while, and then currently he's with Dave Matthews. But he's a guy that like plays really bluesy, really melodically. I really like his approach to the horn. Other people, I actually like Joshua Redman as well. He's a great like funky kind of thing, soulful blues guy. And then I don't know. I feel like everybody can get on board with Coltrane. I don't know why. It's just like if you have that spiritual thing, that his tenor just calls out to you. So I think somewhere in those lines.
What's the good starting point with Coltrane? What CD do I want to go buy if I've never had a John Coltrane CD?
I think any of his ballads or A Love Supreme. That's where I lay. That's where I like all that stuff. But I'm sure. There's just so many, there's like the 4 distinct, Coltrane sounds, and I tend to like the earlier stuff. But
where does Charlie Parker drop in with all of this?
So Charlie Parker, to me, when I first started, he actually didn't appeal to me at all, to be honest. I didn't understand the harmonics at the time, like why he was so incredible. And all I kind of like, everybody around me wanted to be like all day long. And it just never impressed me. It never spoke to me. And they were all like, oh, I love Charlie Parker. So, as a result, I didn't listen to as much of him early on. However, over the years, now I'm like, oh, okay. So he's playing blues. He's just playing more changes. Like he's just expanding the harmonic, horizons here. So, I love Moose the Mooch and Scrapple from the Apple. Those are both like favorite songs of mine. You could pick up any record. Bird with Strings is amazing. There's a ton of stuff you could pick up with Charlie Parker. Yeah.
Yeah. I always use Relaxing at Camarillo, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
If that's what I mean, it's a 12 bar, it's a blues. So I say, listen to this. It's the same chord changes as Further On Up the Road.
Yeah.
You can even sing that to yourself while you're listening, but listen to what this guy does and listen to where these solos. And again, once you hear them, you go, oh my God, listen to what's coming out. And the fact that he was, severely impaired much of the time. And he was only in his 20s when he did most of this stuff, so unbelievable.
It is.
Well, tell me about when things broke for you, when you started out and then when things turned,
Yeah. I don't know that I can pick any particular. I will tell you that you getting me on the Blues Cruise was a huge thing for me. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Because that really kicked off into a whole other realm for me. So I'm tremendously thankful. Honestly, I thank you a lot. But I've had a lot of awesome breaks along the way. I was really surprised putting out my first record that Dan Aykroyd took notice and put it on his best of blues breakers for the year, which came out of nowhere. Like I was nobody and I was like, man, I don't even know how he got a copy of the record.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the Blues Music Awards, those nominations and wins have been awesome as well. I was not expecting to be in a category with Trombone Shorty and ever win. So I was like, okay, like I was so not expecting that this year. So I just feel like I've been very fortunate with a lot of different breaks, a lot of, the first Blues Society, Billtown Blues Society, which is in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, took a chance on me and like let me represent them for the International Blues Challenge. And that opened a lot of the doors. So I just feel like it's been a series of a lot of just serendipitous moments and great people like yourself that have just taken a chance on me. So I'm very grateful.
Sure. Well, do you consider yourself a disciplined player, a disciplined person? Do you have a set routine, whether you're home or away, that you try to stick to in terms of rehearsal, working new stuff in, that kind of thing?
No, I don't think I'm nearly as disciplined as I should be. It's just, I used to kind of kick myself probably more for it, but I think it's just not my nature.
Right.
I've become more disciplined as an older musician. As I've gotten older, because I have all these other interests and the only way to get through them is to actually have a practice regimen. Sure. So, I've been studying piano for the last couple of years with a guy who played in the Marine Band for 25 plus years, played for 4 presidencies, Right. And, his knowledge across the keyboard on, classical through all the genres, Dixieland stuff. I mean, just everything. Makes me like sit down and want to play and like want to understand it and get better and all those things. And I think I'm at a point in my saxophone playing where I almost don't know what to practice, versus keyboard. It's giving me, oh, okay, here's changes. Here's, you got to work on bass lines, which I then translate to the horn. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So delving into other instruments has helped me be a more disciplined player for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
What's one bad habit you're always trying to break?
Procrastination.
I know that one well.
100%. Yeah. I tend to wait until like right before it gets done, but it's like the deadline, and I'm working through the night often to get through that deadline. So even with time here, I'm kind of like, well, I'd kind of rather be outside, so I'll do it tomorrow.
Sure.
So, yeah, definitely.
Sure. I think that goes with the creative temperament,
totally.
kind of thing.
Totally.
So tell me about the Blues Cruise. Again, for people that haven't been there, we're going to have a lot of our people that are watching that are cruisers, but a lot of non-cruisers. It's a lot more than just a bunch of bands playing on a boat for people,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I think. It's kind of like a festival on a ship, but it's way better, way more than a festival. Because one of my favorite parts is the fact that everybody gets to play with everybody else at some point, and that doesn't happen on a festival stage,
Right.
I like the midnight to 6 a.m. jams. I've seen you play in the piano bar late, which has been awesome because I don't get to see you,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, getting to sit in and play with the honey drops and kind of spontaneously create. And you have these special moments that never happen anywhere else, because it's just, where else do you have how many musicians all in one place on one boat? And, and then, I don't know. It's always a really good time to just hang with people and get to know everybody and eat together and share stories from across the country. I mean, you've got people coming from all over. And so you just have so many varied experiences that all love this music and want to support you and support all the artists that are there, which I just think is such a unique thing and such a wonderful thing.
Tell me about one of those moments. Tell me about one of those moments when you sat there and looked around and went, oh my God, I don't believe what I'm doing. Even as far as even looking around, when I did that panel, I sat there and I'm looking at Bobby Rush and Latimer, and I'm going, I don't believe I'm sitting here interviewing these guys.
Yes.
I mean, these are like beyond my idols. These are the guys that, are practically in my dreams. I would, Tell me something about one of those for you. I know there's been, because once they got you on the boat, they never let you go. Every time I said, see you later.
I know, you've been good. You're like, stay in your room, otherwise you're
I told that to you and Victor both. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think one of the moments that it just sticks with me for sure is one of the jams with the honey drops. Like, I think the first night there, because Marcus King came down, Mr. Steb came down, and then like Dean from Marcus King's band, tenor player, like he and I made up the horn section for the rest of it for like 6 hours. And it, I've been to a lot of jams and they aren't always my favorite because everybody calls the tune that they know and then they just turn on that tune and then they leave.
Right.
But what I like about the honey drops thing is that they're just like, somebody starts a groove, somebody else puts a chords to it, and then somebody creates a melody,
right on.
Very spontaneous music making. And for me, that was like the highlight, was like, this is how all jams should be. Like, they should all be this inclusive and just like everybody was listening to each other. And that is so rare at a jam, to get everybody who's like, oh, I'm going to latch onto that idea, which creates this. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's mostly like me.
Right.
So I really appreciated that. And that is a highlight of my career for sure.
Great. So let me talk about the big picture. Do you find you're 30 years old? Are you at a point where I don't know what the it's not the glass ceiling, but are gender issues still, is there still for a girl, involved at all? I mean, do you still catch that, or have we transcended that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's still inherently in the business. It's still, someone questions whether they should have two women on a festival versus, another guy playing guitar. And I don't mean to put that in a sour or anything, but it's just, it's amazing to me that still is kind of there, where I think that, you put Danielle Nicole and then you put me on, or, Terry O'Dobby or whatever. And I think your festival day is strong, you know what I mean? Because you've got so much variance. And of course, being a female band leader has its things as well. But I think I've learned how to deal with it a little bit better. I was way too diplomatic at the front end when I started. Like, okay, it's a band thing. Let me hear what you have to say. And while I still listen, and I am always trying to keep my ears and eyes and everything open to what everybody else needs and wants, there's also at the end of the day that I've learned that it has to be, I'm the artist, and therefore, it has to be the vision that I see. And not everybody has to agree with that. So I feel like I learned a lot in that way. And I pretty much ignore the gender stuff. I know that most people, when it does come up, it's well-meaning. It's actually just like, oh my gosh, you're really good. Not you're really good for a girl. It's you're really good. I kind of can't believe it, you know? So I just I've learned just to let go, and it's just better if you accept the great things that people say about you and don't think about it any further. It's just like,
Right.
cool. All right.
I've found that, you know, in talking with other musicians from Leon Blue all the way down, you know, Leon Blue tells me when he was 16,
Yeah.
he was sitting in with Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys.
Nice.
You know, a Western swing band.
Yeah.
And in Texas, you know, and I didn't know, you know, you don't always want to have to go there, but it's like, but those are like all white bands, and those are like real serious Cracker Town. And he's like, music has always opened every door for me.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Yep. I agree. I just, you know, I think that's say this without getting too emotional. It's something that we don't have enough of in the world, period, these days. And anything that can break down, you know, I think is a noble and worthwhile. Yeah. So, where you headed? What's coming up once we hopefully now have a vaccine on the way?
Yeah, I mean, everything that we had scheduled, which was 150 plus dates or so, last year got moved to 2021. So I'm just hoping that, you know, things open up and we can tour like that again. I released a new record in August, and I'm like chomping at the bit to get out and play those tunes. And I'm thankful we've done, like, I have a duo show with Arthur Nielsen, who's, of course, the guitarist for Shamika for the past 22 years. And we've been doing duo shows for the last couple of months, starting in August. And, you know, I'm thankful for that, because I don't know where I'd be without playing music for 9 months. You know, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that it's just, man, it's crazy how much it's decimated the industry. And I'm grateful to have other opportunities to do other things, you know, like working on a farm. And like I've worked on a farm for the last 7 months, which has been awesome. And starting a yoga practice, and kind of like, you know, taking a little bit more time to care for myself, which
absolutely
takes a backseat on the road as the tour manager, as the main artist, as the whatnot. So that's good. I have a nice blueprint going forward of like, hey, I don't want to lose the self-care thing when we get back out and tour. But man, I miss playing for audiences so much. It's just such a part of like who I've become, and a lot of where my I don't know, where my heart is, you know. So it feels like a piece of it's totally missing. But I'm so excited, you know, I have this duo show this week, and definitely starting out the year, we're going to have a few more duo shows. So hopefully we'll get the full band out there.
Great. What's some of the best, you know, we've all gotten advice and we've all gotten words of wisdom from some of the older players, you know, especially when they sort of sit you down and take you, if they don't necessarily take you under their wing, but, you know, one of these, you know, you're doing good, but let me tell you about the business. What's some of the advice that you've gotten that sticks with you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got a lot of that from touring with Joe Louis Walker. He gave me a lot of insight into the business, a lot of insight into, you know, just being on the road in general, and what happens, you know, and good and bad, you know what I mean? But I think he was, what the advice, and I don't even know that he ever said it out loud, but it was kind of like, you know, don't stay in the background kind of thing. It was like, you have something to say, so say it, you know what I mean? And I've definitely taken that to heart, because that is my nature, is to let everybody else go first and just kind of like hang in the back. And, you know, I'm very introverted. And so now it's like, oh no, I can take my place at the front of the stage just like everybody else, and not feel bad about it, you know? I feel very much that I deserve to be there. So I'm thankful to to Joe for those opportunities to kind of like, it wasn't just, oh, you get a chorus and you're done. It was like, well, what do you have to say? Does it take you 4 choruses? Okay, you know, which I don't think I've had with you know, I'm not sure I would have had that experience with other artists. I think he was like, okay, yeah, here's the door, go through it. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably it.
What's one thing about you that people would be surprised to know?
Well, usually people are surprised when I say I'm an introvert. Because they see me on stage and they're like, but wait, you're doing this all like, oh my gosh, you're this so extravagant, like huge person on stage. And, I think you see it when I do interviews, you see it when I'm just like hanging at shows.
Right.
I like to hang in the background. I like to watch everything and not necessarily speak all the time. So, it's just something I've gotten good at.
This is great. I was asking you the other day when you're sitting on the porch with the dogs, years down the road.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and you're not done yet. You're just taking a break from the tour and you look back and you go, yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
What are you going to be proudest of?
Well, I think I'm most proud of so far playing the music that I want to play, creating the albums that I want to create, designing my career the way that I want to do it. I haven't listened to anyone who said, oh, well, in order to make it, you have to do this. And not that I haven't heard that, but at the same time, like, I know if I go up on stage in a dress with full makeup and lipstick and hair, I'm not going to feel like myself. And same thing with the record. If I make it with a producer that wants to make me into something that I'm not going to be happy. And so I'm very proud up until this point of making records the way that I want to make them and continuing to stand on my own 2 feet as an artist.
Boy, do I hear that. I can tell you from a few years down the road from you, stick with that, well, that's just absolutely wonderful. How can people get your product? I mean, I know they can go through the, Amazon and all that, but where's your website?
Yeah, VanessaCollier.com is the hub for everything. So all the t-shirts and all that actually goes through me. So you'll get a nice little handwritten note if you go through me. But it is also up on Amazon and iTunes and all the social media, everything. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. You've been in the business, just long enough, and I've been there much longer to see how the whole internet, everything has changed, I think, for the better.
Yes. Yeah.
None of us are doing well money-wise these days. These little online concerts I've done, they've really helped. I mean, there's a little bit here and there, but it adds up real quick.
Absolutely. Yes.
And of course, Linda and I have a great time doing it, and the cats are running back and forth. So, that's just great. Well, listen, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. Thanks for everything you bring to what we do. Thanks for everything on the Blues Cruise. And I'm so glad that, I was able to put you guys together. It's been worth every bit of it, and you done good. And so I'm going to leave you now. And if you'd like, you can play a little thing on the backside here, and I'm sure the fans would love it.
Cool.
So anything you want to say before we take off here?
Stay well. Listen to my records. Heart on the Line.
And what is it again?
Heart on the Line.
Okay. And make sure we're getting copies of it down at the radio station too, and we'll play it very much. You've been watching Driftin' and Driftin'. I'm Reverend Billy Wirtz. It's been my extreme pleasure to be here with Vanessa Collier. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you all real soon. Good night, everybody. Thank you now. Bye-bye.